Welcome, and thank you for standing by. Today's conference is being recorded. If you have any objections, you may disconnect at this time. All participants are in a listen-only mode until the question and answer session of today's presentation. To ask a question at that time, please press *1 and clearly record your name for question introduction. I would now like to turn the call over to your host, Associate Director of Technology Services for the Division of Risk Management Supervisors, Mr. Anthony Perry. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. I hope the weather is treating everybody well. I know we've got weather across the United States that can be disruptive, and I hope it's not negatively impacting anybody today. As said, my name is Anthony Perry. I am the Associate Director for Technology Services in the FDIC's Division of Risk Management Supervision. Today, I'm happy to be partnering with Rayanne Miller, who is Associate Director for Policy, also within the Division of Risk Management Supervision. The FDIC is happy to welcome you to an information sharing session regarding an initiative to explore the impact and value of using standardized image loan data to simplify and improve examination activities. In this session, we'll discuss the initiative's goals, strategy, expected impact, timelines, and next steps. This session will be recorded for training and reference purposes. And to complement the conference call, a link to the online presentation slides can be found in the Financial Institution Letter 22-2018. In addition to providing general information, we will periodically open the phone lines for questions and your comments. On April 24th, 2018, Financial Institution Letter 22 was published. The FIL outlined the initiative's general concepts, timeline, and that participation is 100% voluntary. This initiative is a direct result of feedback received from financial institutions. Specifically, financial institutions consistently ask the FDIC to consider how we can better leverage technology to simplify, improve, and reduce burden during examinations. This idea has been under consideration for several months, but before bringing the concept to the broader industry, we wanted to validate the concept. We validated the general technology and processes during 3 proof-of-concept exercises. These exercises confirmed that exporting image loan data into a standard format has significant potential to simplify loan review activities and reduce burden on financial institutions. The graphic on slide 5 demonstrates the general process flow at a very high level. Please note the second step. Institution gathers image documents and related information. During this step, the institution will export specifically requested image loan data into a standardized data file format. These specially formatted files will consist of 7 data fields. The data fields are generally pre-existing in loan imaging systems and should not require the collection of new information. The 7 data fields include customer information file, or sometimes referred to as the borrower ID, the borrower name, account number, document name, document description, document category, and document date. Having these 7 data elements in a standardized file format will allow examiners to view loan documentation in the same way, regardless of which financial institution or imaging vendor they are working with. Slide 7 shows an example of what that standard viewer could look like. In considering next steps, initial testing will continue through the end of 2018. For the near term, the focus will be on safety and soundness examinations. In the future, The standardized export could be expanded to also include compliance, HMDA, trust, and other activities. Through the end of 2018, during pre-exam planning, examiners may ask financial institutions if they wish to participate in this initiative or testing. Considering the uniqueness of technology capabilities across financial institutions and core processors, not every institution will be immediately capable of participating. If you are interested, we encourage you to have conversations with your imaging providers. The FDIC is happy to work with both you and your providers during the testing period and during any broader rollout. Please keep in mind, participation in testing and any broader implementation is voluntary. The FDIC is not requiring financial institutions to make any process or technology changes. And for those who do participate, financial institutions will continue to decide the amount of on-site versus off-site examination activity. Many of the benefits of using standardized image loan data can still be realized during on-site loan review activities. After testing is completed, the FDIC will assess and communicate results and determine if a broader implementation is warranted. The FDIC is in consultation with federal and state regulatory agencies to determine if the standardized process can be incorporated into their existing examination processes. In looking at the timeline summary, assuming that testing validates our expectations, this capability will be made available for production use in the first quarter of 2019 by all financial institutions that are capable of participation. As file sizes are expected to be large, file transfers will not use FDIC Connect. All export data file transfers will be completed using a secure file transfer tool. Data will be maintained on encrypted FDIC systems, and access will be restricted on a need-to-know basis. Any data not needed to support examination findings will be automatically deleted 90 days after the examination begins. Operator, at this point, can we see if there are any questions or comments?
Yes, at this time, if you would like to ask a question, please press *1 and clearly record your name for question introduction. Again, to ask a question at this time, please press *1 and clearly record your name. One moment, please, to see if we gather questions at this time. And currently, I'm showing no questions at this time.
Okay, thank you. To summarize, the FDIC will expand testing through the remainder of 2018. Working with financial institutions and core processors, the FDIC will continue testing the use of standardized image loan data exports in live examinations. Process and technology adjustments are expected and will occur throughout the testing period at the FDIC. At the conclusion of formal testing, the FDIC will document results and provide additional information about near-term plans. We want to thank you for joining the information sharing call today. Keep in mind, this is the beginning of testing. We look forward to hearing your feedback and identifying the process and technology changes needed to make this capability valuable. If you are a financial institution or imaging vendor that would like to participate during testing, please reach out to our FIVE project team at FIVE, F-I-V-E, which stands for File Image Viewer for Examiners, FIVE@FDIC.gov. or you can reach out to me directly. My contact information is in the fill. Operator, can we check if there are any final questions, perhaps?
Sure. Give me one moment, and if you'd like to ask a question, please press *1 and clearly record your name for question introduction. One moment to see if we gather questions. And it looks like our first question will come from Arkana Akakuma. Your line is now open.
Hello, this is Archana Runkumar from Ellie Mae. I have a quick question. Will the deck be made available after this call?
Yes, we will make the slides downloadable, and we'll check on if that can be made available while we're still on the call.
Perfect. And the second question I have is, if we wanted to go ahead and participate, Ellie Mae is a technology provider for the mortgage industry, and so if we wanted to participate in this, do we just go ahead and email 5@fdic.gov and then move forward from there, or is there any sort of requirements that we can preview to see if participation is something that we would like to, if we would like to actually participate in the testing effort?
Okay, so some of that was a little broken up, but I think I got the gist of your question. You'd like to know whether you'll be able to participate, and I would suggest that you contact the 5 team at 5@fdic.gov. That's FIVE at FDIC.gov, and somebody from the project team will reach out to you directly and have more conversations and help you figure out where you are in the landscape and what would be needed to participate.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Our next question will come from Lisa Berry. Your line is now open.
Hi,
Lisa?
could you just review?
Oh.
Yes, could you just review these 7 data fields again?
Absolutely. The 7 data fields that we're asking for are the CFI number, the CFI name, the account number, the document name, the document description, the document category, and the document date. And when you look at the slide presentation, whether now online or whether you are going to download it, if you look at slide 7, it shows an example of how we will be using that file, how we'll be reading that file. And so you get an idea of the concept of the way that the examiners are going to be looking at the data, and that's why that data becomes important. Those specific elements become important so that we know what we're looking at in the reader.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
And one moment to gather last-minute questions. It looks like I have someone that is joining or recording their information. Please give one moment. Our next question will come from Ashley Williams.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I was wondering if you know what kind of time commitment this might be to participate in this.
You know, that's a good question, and the short answer is that's an unknown right now. Some organizations will have different technological capabilities than others and kind of be more readily able to kind of jump into testing or any broader implementation. Other organizations will have to have an update from maybe their service provider, a new capability provided, something along those lines. So, once that early work is done and once you are capable of creating the export file, once your core processor has provided you that capability, at that point, our experience so far is that it's a quick process. During pre-exam planning, they scope out the loans that they'd like to include, and you go and identify those loans, and theoretically you click export and a file is created. And at that point, we make contact with you, and we facilitate the secure transfer of the file. And hopefully it's a very, very smooth, quick process, but testing is going to prove all of that out during these next few live exam tests.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Our next question comes from Eric Butterball. Your line is now open.
Yeah, thanks. My question is concerns with the amount of data that we're talking about pushing through. I mean, in terms of, these large files for, these loan files, how are you guys going to, I guess, accommodate that? And, I mean, we have concerns today with our banks and their current throughput. So how do you experience that as an issue so far, or how do you see as the resolutions moving forward?
That's a good question, and file transfers and file sizes are also a concern for us. We are working with a secure file transfer tool today called GlobalScape that we will be able to basically send an email to a point of contact at the bank, and that designated point of contact will be able to click a link and transfer a file to us. But everybody will be limited by the bandwidth that they have available to them. So file transfer size is always a concern.
Mm-hmm. And in our situation, we host all of the data for our banks. So is that a case where the banks would need to get the data from us and then push it up to this secure transfer? Or would it?
Okay, so you're a core processing vendor, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so in that particular case, I mean, all options are on the table, but in this particular case, if you've created the export file as a core processor and you've said, I have got that data at my processing facility, and you do the export and the data is sitting there at the processing facility, what's to say that you can't give the bank the capability of remoting in and releasing that data, or authorizing you to release that data from the exam. Again, these are conversations that you're going to have with the bank about the level of control that they want. But if you can cut a layer of complexity out of the process by not transferring the file to the bank and then the bank transferring it to us, that may be an efficiency.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Our next question will come from Troy Harper. Your line is now open.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Terrific. This looks very promising. We're very grateful for this. One question I had, with the 3 proofs of concepts, the POCs that you did on this that you mentioned earlier, can you briefly describe any challenges you had?
One moment, please.
Sure.
So I've asked Megan Corey, who's a subject matter expert in this, and she's on our project team and was very familiar with the early testing, and I think that she may be able to speak to some of the specifics, but I'll let her decide that information, and I'll push it over to Megan right now.
Terrific.
Sure. Thank you for the question. So just going back in time a bit, working through these proofs of concept, as Anthony mentioned, the primary challenges were really determining, formatting the export file appropriately, again, mapping those 7 data fields based on what is already available in a bank's loan imaging system. So again, trying not to impact the institution, but trying to do this at the level of the service provider. And ultimately, we did a couple tests by receiving the data and validating it with our viewer, which you heard Anthony mention 5, or the File Image Viewer for Examinations application. That is what is the examiner-facing piece of this process. So we determined after we pulled these test files in if it pulled into the 5 viewer correctly, and there were obviously some troubleshooting processes to get that process correct and have it appear in the viewer appropriately. So obviously there was some back and forth, but ultimately I think this is a fairly simplistic development process, and it's just making sure you have the appropriate data mapped appropriately. And then the other primary challenge, as we are all well aware of, is file transfers. So this is something that we are exploring as an FDIC group and at the different regulatory agencies to see how we can reevaluate the challenges associated with file transfers, especially as things become more electronic in our exam processes. But those, I would say, are the biggest challenges, those initial hurdles to get past, and then obviously transferring the files, as our previous caller mentioned.
Okay, terrific. Thank you very much.
Our next question will come from Michelle Shobot. Your line is now open. Michelle, please check your mute button. Your line is open.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, I can hear you. You might have gone back on mute.
Michelle, please check your mute button. Your line is open.
For anybody else listening, the slides are available for download now.
Michelle, are you still with us? Is your line open now?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. The question I have is, what is the preferred format for the documents? Will it be a PDF document?
That is a great question. So we took great pains to not try to use some proprietary document type or formatting type. This is going to be using industry standard XML and I believe PDF. One moment.
Okay.
Oh, we can, okay. So I've heard that we have great latitude in the types of imaging files that we can accept, but the data itself is XML file formatted. So not to get too technical with this, but it's two different types of data that is going to be created out of this. One is the formatted text data, if you will, and then the other type of file is the image file itself. And when we combine both of those in the reader, the text basically points to the data, and that's what makes the reader so valuable to be able to consolidate all of that. And you know, the value is that regardless of the organization that you're in, the XML and the images are read in a consistent manner. It takes the uniqueness of your, the core processing image viewer out of the equation, and that is really the secret sauce that allows bankers to realize the benefit of off-site or on-site exams with reduced burden to the organization, because in the past, people would have to, examiners would gather around a table in a room, and maybe there might be a terminal in the room with them, and they would have to use the bank software and only have one terminal to do it on. Then we'd have to ask, financial institutions to bring documents or maybe copy something off, or we'd have to print something and then scan it into our systems. This greatly simplifies that process, and it expands the ability for doing loan review to more than one person using the one terminal or few terminals that are in the building.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I am told that while we have great latitude in the types of image files that we accept, I believe that PDF is preferred for the image files.
Okay.
And I do believe also that there's several opportunities to compress PDFs. I think there's a lot of industry software out there that'll do that. So we're going to be doing it when we get the files for sure. And I'm believing that image processors may be doing something on their side also with that.
Okay.
Thank you for the question.
Thank you.
And our next question will come from Angela Hansen. Your line is now open.
Thank you. I just had a question about how much of the file you'll be requesting, like the file in its entirety with all the historical data or most recent. I know somebody asked earlier about file size. So how does that work?
Hi. So to address that issue, it really is dependent on the service provider that you're working with or that provides your loan imaging software, because some software has the ability to customize the exported packages while others do not. So that depends. And I know that's an unfortunate answer, but really we need to make sure that we're obtaining the documents that allow us to conduct a comprehensive review of the loan file as we would in any other way that we would conduct our reviews, whether they be paper files or working through the bank terminal or anything else. So really, we need to make sure we have a comprehensive picture of the borrower's financial condition, any obviously collateral documentation to support that. Now, if you have the ability to customize, we're not against that. We obviously just need to make sure we have the information that is applicable to, the most recent renewal or new loan. And it is possible that historical data or closed loan data may not be necessary, so you may be able to trim it down. It just depends on the capabilities of your software.
Okay, and then what about information from the loan accounting system and that? Are you requesting that, or is it just loan file documentation that you're looking for?
This process would be specific to the loan documentation.
Okay, thank you.
Our next question will come from Renee Proof. Your line is now open.
Yes, thank you. I have a question on whether or not multiple exports would be able to be received, meaning what happens if the organization uses a couple different softwares depending on the division that you're working with?
Another great question. Ultimately, through our survey of institutions, we've had our examiners talk about loan imaging practices through the past several months to try to determine who's involved in this market and what the different solutions are for imaging loan files. And we have identified that several banks do use multiple imaging platforms, whether it be for different loan types or secondary market loans. So ultimately, that's something that we are trying to work towards, and we hope to implement in the near future. But in the current testing phase, it would not be able to, our current process would not be able to accommodate multiple exports. But it is an ultimate goal for future releases.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
And one moment, we have another participant recording their information. Our next question will come from Christy DeYoung. Your line is now open.
Hi, I had a question about the document categories. Are
yes.
we required to use a specific set, or do we get to use our own categories and you can pull those in?
So this is something that you can customize, but also not all imaging software providers have a .category area within their imaging systems, so this is not a required element of the export process. So if you currently do not categorize your documentation, you would not need to provide a category specifically for our purposes. It just allows an extra layer of organization, but if it's not available, that's okay as well.
Okay, good deal. Thank you.
Sure.
And these types of things, we uncover them as we start our discussions with the financial institution and the service provider, and we figure out what that imaging platform really has in it, what it does. And as we go through those conversations, we figure out, what maybe document name would map to in that new imaging platform, or what the CFI name might map to, and we try to get that same type of data.
And currently, I have no additional questions at this time, but as a reminder, if you would like to ask a question, please press *1 and clearly record your name for question introduction. One moment, please, to see if we gather more questions.
Okay. Operator, it sounds like we don't have any more questions on the line right now. I'm sorry, was there one more?
We did. We have one person that's recording their information right now as we speak.
Okay. All right. Sure.
And it looks like Betsy Johnson, and there's one more after Betsy Johnson. Your line is open, Betsy.
Wonderful.
Thank you. This is Betsy Johnson. We have been handling exams with our examiners of digital files through FDIC Connect, and as I know, our institution and others, thank you for expediting this project and standardizing the project, and we very much look forward to that. My comment that I have is I assume that part of this will be I'll tell you right now, currently it's a time constraint on our staff to be able to get the files together. So we have asked our examiners in the future, please allow us enough time to do that. So when they're ready for our examiner information, we've had enough time to prepare for that. Do I assume that this is part of the process, that this will help standardize that or streamline some of that?
Well, I think it really depends upon the implementation that your service provider gives you, the piece of software that they provide that allows you to do this. But we plan on building time into the exam process right up front so that we can send you the request for specific information and that you'll have an opportunity to go in to your system and theoretically identify the loans, click them, click on export, and have time to transfer the file. So, I think that what you're going to find is this standardization does speed that process, does simplify that process. I think that was your question.
That answers my question. Thank you so much, and I appreciate that consideration.
Oh, pleasure.
And our next question comes from Matt Graff. Your line is now open.
Hi, thank you. My question is just regarding the slides. You mentioned that the slides are now available for download. Where are the slides available for download?
That is a good question. Hold on just one second, and I'm seeing if I can get the information for you. Hold on.
Thank you.
Are they seeing it on? So I'm told that if you are looking at the slides online now, that there should be a file transfer capability right there to where you can download the slide deck.
And so I had joined the WebEx presentation. I don't know if is there another link that I should be going to view the slides online?
No, I would say using the WebEx link will get you there, and you should be able to do it. But you can also feel free to reach out to the 5 team at FDIC.gov, and we can also email you those slides.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Our pleasure.
So I don't...
And just to add, I'm being told by our operator here that there should be a file transfer dialog box on your screens if you're in the WebEx, and you can just select download from that screen. And just to reiterate Anthony's comments, if you're having trouble accessing these slides, please feel free to email the 5 at FDIC.gov mailbox, and we'll make sure you get a copy.
And currently I have no additional questions at this time.
Okay. Well, we want to respect everybody's time and say that if you have additional questions or comments, as you're riding your exercise bike tomorrow or walking into work, feel free to email us. Reach out to us. You can contact me directly. You can contact the 5 team via email, and we are happy to answer questions or help you get started with the process of finding out whether your organization is capable or would like to join the testing process. With that said, we want to thank you for joining today's call. We are here to answer your questions, and if there's anything we can do to clarify, please let us know. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you again for your participation. This concludes today's conference. All participants may disconnect at this time.